Welcome back to BLOCKTV. This is Links in the Chain, where we speak to the people moving the sphere forward. Today we're joined by Corey Petty, Senior Security Engineer at Status. Corey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, Status started off, so to say, as kind of an Ethereum interface, an app. But now you guys recently announced the launch, kind of expansion to the Status Network. What exactly is the Status Network?
Yeah. So as our initial goal was to provide people access to the Ethereum ecosystem with secure communications through their mobile device. And in the process of trying to build that, we realized that a lot of the infrastructure required to build this was missing or wasn't good enough. And so we've doubled down on trying to allocate resources that we have to building that out as well in such a way that anyone could use all of the parts and pieces, but they're meant to be used together. And that all becomes the Status Network.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, the pieces, you guys broke the network down into 3 parts: products, tools, and infrastructure. Why did you guys decide to break it down this way?
It seems the most logical way, right? And so in order to build the application, you're going to need certain pieces of infrastructure, like back-end node management, good quality libraries for how the nodes talk to each other and connect, and so on and so forth. And so that seems to be what everyone else likes. And so we would want to make sure we build that type of thing so everyone can use it. From there, you need to build some type of interface for people to use that's usable, intuitive, secure, that allows them to access applications, decentralized applications, their wallet, and their friends. And that's the application itself. So that's kind of like a product. Also, we want to provide people the tooling to take all of these complex pieces and build applications or decentralized applications with all of the available complex infrastructure. And so as we've built out the tools to interact with all of the other pieces of the network, we want to provide those to people so they can do the same thing. At no point do we want to kind of isolate the things that we build so that only we know how to do it. We want to make sure it's available to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, especially when non-techie people, they hear words like tools and infrastructure, it sounds like it's something more aimed for developers, but there's also products as well. Who really is your target audience? How tech savvy does one have to be to really take advantage of the Status Network?
We're definitely trying to reach everyone, right? We're trying to be as broad as possible because the technology is so flexible and applicable to so many people with so many different skill sets. We want to make sure that all the things that we create at every single layer of the stack are available to the appropriate individual. So with infrastructure, that's going to be the people who are running the networks, running the nodes, things like that. With the developer tools, that's going to be for the application developer who wants to make some type of application for end users. The application itself and the key card and teller, assemble, these types of things are definitely going to be for the end user. All the products are trying to be built so that they're intuitive. You don't need to know what's going on underneath them. You're able to make the right decisions with your data in an informative way without having to kind of defer to somebody else. And so we've definitely taken a lot of caution and care to make sure that each piece that we create is created appropriately for the intended audience. And that's a lot of people, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're saying you're taking things carefully, you're laying things out piece by piece. What is available right now on the network? What kind of products and tools and infrastructure are available?
Right now, you can go and buy a key card. That's going to be your hardware wallet. That's a NFC Java card. It's a lot like a credit card. It's going to be a lot of tap to pay, and that's going to hold all your keys as opposed to keeping them on your phone or on your desktop or something like that. The Status application has gone through a large external security audit to make sure that it's ready to be pushed out into the App Store. We're fixing a few of the issues that came up with there, and that's scheduled to be released in the App Store's version 1 in January of next year. You can go and get those now in their beta forms, but what we're releasing is quite different and improved from what's available now in the App Store. Mm-hmm. You can use Embark and Subspace. Those are two of our development tools for creating applications, trying to put all these pieces together in an easy way so you can make applications that take advantage of peer-to-peer technologies. As for Nimbus, libp2p, and VAC, all of our infrastructure stuff, those are going to be ongoing research projects. And those aren't, as of yet, those aren't necessarily ready for consumption, but they are as close as you can get when you think about how far Ethereum 2.0 stuff has come.
I mean, you guys have, your own native token for the network, aptly named the Status Network token. What exactly are its use cases available to its users?
As of right now, there's not a tremendous you can do with the Status Network token. But as these things come online, so right now, what you can do is you can reserve usernames inside the Status app, so that way you always have a way for someone to easily identify you, and it also gives you a unique identifier that can't be gained. Part of the application, and something we will always be behind, is that it requires no personal information to get started. Don't need to enter your phone number to register or anything like that. You just sign up, get your keys, and start using the application. But if you'd like, you can add things like personalization and unique identifiers so people know who they're talking to, which is really important for secure communication. So you can register those using the Status Network token. You can also do things if you're an application developer by using our dApp store, which is you can stake tokens, and the more you stake, the more up in the leaderboard you go as to kind of who's who of dApps and the leaderboard associated with that. And there's some fun mechanisms for upvoting and downvoting from the community to make sure that the community also is behind those who are staking on that.
And speaking about giving the communities power, the stated mission statement behind the network is to kind of empower communities seeking greater sovereignty. How exactly will the network, or the Status Network, how will it help these communities accomplish that?
Well, we want to try and provide tools that allow people to communicate in settings that they normally wouldn't be able to. So there's a one-for-one, there's nothing we can do. Anyone who uses the application of the network can use the services without hindrance from us. We have no control over messages. We have no control over keys. We have no control over everything. We're just providing software for people to use and these types of things in a peer-to-peer permissionless way. On top of that, we're going out to various places around the globe, talking to people who have issues with dealing with the applications that are available to them, if they have some type of problem with being censored or something like that, and trying to figure out how we can best serve them and create our software in such a way to help make sure that they can do what they'd like to do.
Well, speaking, now that we're on the topic of traveling around the globe to kind of, see how blockchain and how blockchain could really help bring power and empower, these people. What is your take on Virgil Griffith? Someone who went to, a very authoritarian government to spread the gospel of blockchain and its potential, seemingly kind of similar to your mission statement.
That's a tough one. I feel as though, first off, let me say, I don't know much about Virgil. I've never had personal communication with him, so it's hard for me to really think about what his real motives were. That being said, from what I do understand or have read about the situation, it seems as though he went with the idea of spreading the gospel of decentralization and allowing anyone to use the technology they want, but he did so in a way that seemed careless to me. Maybe under his jurisdiction and the rules associated with things. He knew he was doing something that wasn't allowed and there would be consequences. That being said, I'm not surprised there are consequences. And I think something also that should be reinforced here is that anything that he did or said there was publicly available information to the people he was probably saying it to. And that's maybe all I can say because I'm ignorant elsewhere.
Well, listen, you guys, like you said, the Status Network is aiming to be, to allow these people to communicate in a way that they might not have been able to, give them an avenue. How, especially when it comes to peer-to-peer networks, this is kind of a relatively new thing. How much responsibility is on this network for the things that are said on the network, for the things that are done on the network? They don't have full control. It is decentralized, but how much responsibility does fall on the network and its developers for things that happen?
There's different ways you can take that question, I think. I think it's our responsibility to make software and infrastructure so that people have the choices and controls that are appropriate for them. It's not our responsibility to do that for them. We can only provide software that allows them to do it appropriately for themselves. So that means that we have to make sure that when we release something, the people who use it can interact with it with the way they feel it's appropriate. That's my opinion. People should always have the options and permissions that are available to them, and the people who are providing this software shouldn't be as opinionated as possible.
Right. I mean, that's something that, let's say, when Facebook launched, I doubt even Mark Zuckerberg knew, how big it would grow and the power and the platform it would become for speech, for expressing one's opinions. How does the Status Network, aim to do you guys aim to police the content? Let's say, we all hope it blows up and it is a place where opinions are spread, where ideas are shared. Is there a line where the Status Network does then try to police the content?
We can't. That's the problem. Maybe not even the problem. We're making it in such a way where we cannot police things. But that being said, the software should allow people to police themselves in the communities that they belong to, right? So like if you start a community or join a community, those communities hopefully have administrators that have their own policing policies that are made aware to the people who join it. Our job at the Status Network is not to tell people how they should congregate and talk and police themselves, but to provide them tools so they can do it within the communities that they belong to.
Truly taking the power of censorship away from the few and actually handing it to the people and giving the power back to the people. Corey, thank you so much for joining us. It really sounds like an amazing project. It's really something, something that really is needed, especially in today's day and age. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Links in the Chain. Stay current, stay informed, and stay tuned at BLOCKTV.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.